Hi, this is Mark Nelson with Rio Grande Tech Support Team, here to welcome you to the Rio Grande video series on soldering. Today we're going to talk about your basic soldering setup. The rooms that you might be in to do that, the tables, and also some of the tools and equipment that you'll need to kind of get started soldering. So to start off with, you need to think about your space. Where are you going to be soldering? Are you going to be soldering like in the kitchen, on a table, or in the garage? Are you in an apartment? These are all kinds of things to consider. One of the things that you need to look at in this space is ventilation, because you will want some ventilation. The soldering process does give off some fumes, and you want to be able to evacuate those fumes for your health. One way you can do it is in your room or in your space. If you have an open door, a door that you can open or a window that you can open, something to help circulate that air. If you have those, try to set up your soldering station between, say, a window and a door so that there's a cross breeze. And you'll want it to blow across you or from behind away from you. You never want a breeze to blow from your soldering station into your face, because that's the way you'll take in a lot of fumes. One of the best places to set up a soldering station is actually in front of a window. So you'd have your station here and your window here, and you can set up a little fan that's blowing out the window. What that's going to do is actually pull the fumes away from you and straight out the window. Okay. If you're in a really enclosed space with no windows, no doors or anything like that, you can go with an air filtration system. These systems will actually take the air, filter it, and then put it back into your space. So it's a lot safer for you to work in there. Once you have your space, you kind of need to look around. Are you going to be on a tile floor, cement floor, or are you going to be on carpeting? If you're going to be on some carpeting, you might want to think about trying to cover that carpeting. This could be with some wood or other kind of plastic covering around your soldering station. What can happen is sometimes hot objects will fall off, and the hot object will hit the carpet and melt it, or actually maybe even start a fire. So you do need to consider the flooring too. Another consideration is the surface that you're going to be soldering on, the table or countertop that you're going to be soldering on. It does need to be stable. You definitely don't want it to be shaky and unstable. And you want it to be about the right height. About mid-chest level is really great, because as you're soldering, you usually solder around this portion right here, and the fumes will pass beyond your face. If you're too low, you'll be over your work and taking in a lot of fumes. So you want to try and avoid doing that. Once you have the surface and the space all set up, what you want to do is you want to kind of protect that surface and start with something like a tile. This is actually a silk core tile, and it's really great. It'll absorb some heat, and one thing you do want to do is actually make sure that there's some feet on the bottom. This really helps. It creates a little airspace between the tile and the table. I can't tell you how many benches I've burned by just setting a soldering board on the table and then soldering it. This heat goes through the soldering board and burns the table. So try and get something. It could be a silk core tile. It could even be a ceramic tile, floor tile. But try and put some feet underneath there so that you have a little airspace in between the table and the tile. So that's going to be kind of your protective surface that you can work on. On top of that, you're going to actually have your soldering surfaces. These can be things like charcoal blocks, either a soft one or a hard one, or both maybe. And also there's solderite boards. These are really nice, dense boards that you can solder on. And you can also put lazy Susans. If you need to turn something, you could lay that down and put your board on top and solder it so you can rotate it and do that. Okay, so that would be kind of the levels that I would work at. Definitely a protective tile for your table, and then your soldering surface that you're actually going to do the soldering on. So we're going to start with our torch. For right-handed people, the torch would be on the left-hand side, so it's nice and accessible. You don't need a lot of precision control with your torch, so it's okay to use your non-dominant hand. You're going to be moving this thing pretty much all the time. But what you do need is some precision control with your tweezers and your soldering picks and things like that. So you want to keep those on your right-hand side. So starting from left to right, I'm going to set this up how I would do it for most jewelry applications. This, I might even have couple of layers here, just for added protection. This is a third hand. This is a stand that's going to hold tweezers, and these are going to be cross-lock tweezers. And cross-lock tweezers are tweezers that you have to push to open. And this is so that they clamp onto your piece and you don't have to physically pinch them to hold them. Now there's a couple of different types. There's one that's a plain steel one and one that has some fiber grip on there. I highly recommend the one with the fiber grip go in the clamp. Reason being is when you're soldering and these heat up and you're done soldering and you go to grab this is hot. Okay, so you want to avoid doing that. The best thing to do is to use the fiber grip tweezers in the third hand and clamp those in there. Like that. So now we have a means of holding our object, be it a chain end or a bail or anything, a ring, anything like that. And then on the right hand side, we're going to have all of my other tweezers, my other tools, brushes, soldering picks on the right hand side. Now these are readily accessible so that as I'm soldering, I can easily grab them. I can come over here and grab a pair of tweezers. I can get my soldering pick, and you can see that this third hand is no longer in my way. Okay? If I try and set this up this way, now my third hand is in the way and I have to work around it. Okay? So that's going to be the soldering station setup with your third hand, your soldering blocks, and then your tools on the right hand side. And if you're left-handed, of course, all this will be reversed. Now what you want to have at hand's length, your fluxes, your barrier fluxes like your boric acid and alcohol, maybe something like cuprinol, and also your flow fluxes. These are going to be fluxes that you use. These will be fluxes that you use to protect the piece from fire scale, and these will be fluxes that you use to help the solder flow. And we're going to have another video segment where we go in depth on what fluxes do and which ones to use for what. And then close by, it doesn't have to be on your workstation, but close by you'll want your pickle and a water. When you're done soldering, you'll want to let your piece cool a little bit and then dunk it in the water and then the pickle. And when you go to set up your pickle station, I highly recommend that you put it on like a plastic tray, something that you can clean from time to time. Reason being is you might get some splash and it'll get on your table and it's a little harder to clean. But with a plastic tray, something to catch the extra splashing, then it's a lot easier to clean up. And a couple more things about safety is that you will want to wear some safety glasses. You need something between your eyes and the soldering project. What can happen is sometimes the solder or the flux will spit little things at your face and you'll want some protection that way. This also gives you a little heat protection against the heat from soldering, which typically isn't a lot. I do recommend that you don't go with a tinted lens for soldering because everything about soldering is learning to judge the color of the metal, and because the color of the metal will tell you what temperature it's at. When you wear a tinted lens, it distorts that color relationship and it's really hard to find out what temperature your metal is at. Safety glasses could be safety glasses, optovisors, eyeglasses. Just you need some kind of barrier there between you and the job. I also recommend an apron. The apron should be something more of a full-length apron, something that will cover your legs. It should be of a heavy cotton or even leather. These things will burn as readily as, say, a polyester apron or anything like that. There are times when, as you're soldering, the tweezers will lose the grip on the jump ring or the ring, whatever you're soldering, and it'll go rolling off into your lap. So having an apron there will help protect you that way too. I hope you enjoyed this. For more information and to view other videos online, visit us on our website at riogrande.com.